Hello and good morning, Red Earth team. What is happening? Happy Tuesday. Matt Ham here, co-founder of Uprint Faith and Personal Development on our weekly conference call with the team at Red Earth. Thank you guys for those who are joining us live on the call today, and for those who catch the replay, welcome as well. Just before we went live, I was sharing with the team what I do not want to do is the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results, right? That has been deemed the definition of insanity. So when it comes to helping develop a culture here at Red Earth among our team members, I want to make sure that you know that my role is to be here for you as a support mechanism and structure, kind of an underlying foundation, as a resource, if you will, that you guys can fully function in and thrive in your excellence, your genius as a part of the team here. So that being said, if you guys have any challenges, struggles, thoughts, questions, whatever it is, this is a forum to be able to ask that. And you can ask it anonymously. But the reality is so many of us are going through the same challenges, but sometimes it's just awkward to talk about those challenges. We don't want to raise our hand and say, I'm struggling with this. But the beauty is when you are vulnerable enough to raise your hand and say, I'm struggling with this, 5 or 6 people will actually have the same challenge, right? And so I want to encourage us to be vulnerable enough to reach out, to say, hey, here's a question I have, or hey, here's a challenge I'm facing. When it comes to your wholeness as a part of the team, but also as an individual and as a person who's living, breathing, and trying to navigate this crazy thing we call life. And lately it has been quite crazy. So that being said, feel free to reach out. My number is 910-619-4644. Matt@uprint.life is an email address. And I would love to hear from you guys and connect with you more intimately. So, disclaimers aside, good morning. Today, I have two stories. One is a catalyst, and the other is the application. Okay, and both of these have happened recently. You know me, stories and things that happen in my life is really the ingredients that I use to share with folks, and it seems to be working, so we'll continue. So this morning I was taking my 3 sons to camp, which, praise the Lord, we're actually able the first time to get them out of the house and into like a kids camp thing. And we're so grateful for that because they have been dying for friends. They've been dying for connection. And my wife and I have thoroughly enjoyed having a little bit of time where the kids are away. So they're at camp this week, and it's an outdoor camp, and we feel real comfortable about it and are excited for them to make new friends and do what they do. But this morning, as we're driving to take them to camp, you're kind of in a hurry because you got to get there at 8:30 and you got to go across town and traffic and, blah, blah, blah. Same routine, right? You're in the hamster wheel. You're in the matrix, and you're just thinking about all the stuff that you got to do today. And, you're racing. The kids are in the backseat fighting. You're telling them not. This is reality, right? This is our lives. This is what we deal with. And in the middle of the street was a flock of geese. Now, geese are winged creatures that can fly, but for some reason, they were walking down the middle of the street. Now, if they were goats or cats or dogs or something, it'd be different because those folks can't fly, but geese can fly, and yet they weren't. They were walking down the street. Now, the interesting thing is they weren't crossing the street. They were walking down the street. And so traffic was backed up in both directions because the geese weren't doing what geese do. They weren't flying. And as I saw this, it was a weird thing because immediately in my mind, I go, why are the geese not flying away? The cars are lined up behind them, honking their horns, and the geese are just chilling. And it was interesting because immediately in kind of my spirit as I processed this, I said, man, there's a world full of people right now who can fly. But for whatever reason, they're choosing not to. And again, there are seasons maybe when we don't need to fly, right? We need to slow down and process some things and come to earth, if you will. But that wasn't the case for these geese. This was a time for them to fly, and they weren't flying. And I think for us as individuals is there's a time for us to fly. a time for us to soar. We were created to fly, right? And again, this is kind of metaphorical, and we get it. But there is something that you were created to do that you're not doing. And you're dragging your feet with it, and you're walking. And it's actually backing up the world around you. And I saw this, maybe it's just for some one person today, I don't know, but there's something that was put inside of you to do, and yet you're not doing it. And you're walking it out, you're dragging your feet. And not because it's just a season to collect yourself. And we use all these excuses, right? It's like, oh, well, I'm just in a rebuilding season. Well, you've been in a rebuilding season for the last 15 years, And so don't let that become an excuse. I'm not saying it's not valid, but it can also become a crutch. And so what I'm saying today to you and to myself is get up and fly. Get up and fly. Now, the application in my own life is this, is we have an organization that is our business entity, Uprint, Faith and Personal Development. We provide content, resources, and services for individuals and corporations to discuss and focus on kind of their holistic development and how they thrive in their excellence and build up themselves individually and corporately, right? That's what we do as a business. Now, what we also have is a nonprofit entity, which is about helping people remove obstacles so they can step into who they were created to be. So it has a benevolence element to it. It has a mentoring and counseling element to it. And honestly, for the last year, we've been focused on our nonprofit entity. We've been focusing on the mentoring, the one-to-one. I've been doing a lot of connection with people to get them plugged into counseling. We've set up all of the processes there and our donor system and all these different things. So what I'm saying is we've been building over here while the business side of what we do has been on the ground a little bit. And the Lord's been speaking to me lately about, hey, remember, it's good for the season to go over there and get that healthy and stable. Now I want you to come back over here, and I want you to take off. I want you to accelerate the growth trajectory of your business efforts. And so I'm using that as a very vulnerable way to share with you guys. I'm going through this as well. And so that requires that I do some strategic planning. What does it look like? And then turn the key in the engine and let's get going. Okay? Because I think that there's kind of a mood in the earth right now as it's time to fly. There's a lot of people staying grounded right now. There's a lot of people with a world full of excuses as to why they're not doing the thing they were put here to do, or why they're not giving it, everything they have toward this kind of collective goal. So it's time to get going. And so know today that you're not a geese that's dragging your feet, walking around, slowing up traffic. But when you actually go and fly, it frees up the people around you to be able to kind of see that and go as well. So there's incredible power in the testimony of that. So that was the geese picture today. And then secondarily, what it led me to is this. My wife and I used to have expendable income as much as we wanted. We could pretty much pay for anything we needed, right? Now, we weren't like exorbitantly wealthy. We weren't independently wealthy, We didn't have 6-8 houses and all this kind of stuff. I mean, we had a house, and it was, we were comfortable to go and put a fence in our yard for $10,000 if we needed to, or renovate a bedroom or whatever, and we did. But since I've moved into starting our new business and stepping into full-time ministry with our nonprofit, it's changed our financial picture. And yet, one of the things that my wife and I have needed is we needed to put in hardwood floors at our house because our kids have very severe allergies. And the carpet upstairs is like 6 years old. It's kind of stank, because it's had little kids living on it for 6 years. And so the time had come for us to either replace the carpet, which was not conducive to their allergies, or get hardwood floors. Okay. And so the easy answer was just to pay somebody to do it. We had it priced out, $7,000. It's kind of tight right now. That's not something we can do. So what do? Well, you save up for it. You finance it. You put it on an equity line. There's all these things that go through our head. And I really feel like the Lord was just saying, no, just wait on me for this. Just wait on me for this. And that doesn't seem logical. What do you mean wait on you for this? We need the floors. We want the floors. We need to get the floors. He says, no, wait on me for this. Well, my wife was a little bit anxious, so she started talking to her mom. And her mom had some money from inheritance, and she was going to help with it. And I just kind of said, okay, That's fine. If that's what you want, then I'm okay with that. I would rather it happen another way, but that's fine. Well, the night before my wife was placing the order for the new hardwood floors, we got connected or contacted by good friends of ours who had just had a leak in their refrigerator in one corner of their house. But because it warped the floor was discontinued. So they had all of this hardwood floor, this kind of floating laminate hardwood floor that they had to get rid of. And they said, do you want it? So we just got $3,000 or $4,000 of material for free. And it was the hardwood floor. Now, the interesting thing was, immediately said, okay, well, what would it cost for somebody to install that? Well, it was expensive. It was about $3,000 or $4,000 just to install it. So the Lord the whole time was telling me, I gave this to you. Now I need you to be faithful to see it through, to put it in, right? And so for the past few days, what I have been doing is laying hardwood floor in my room, or my upstairs at my house. Now I'm going to tell you, this is the furthest thing from what Matt Ham was created to do. I am not a woodworking guy. I'm not a work with your hands. I don't enjoy it. I can do it. I don't think I'm great at it. I just don't see the world that way. I'd rather be on calls like this with you guys all day and helping people like this. But the Lord has said, no, this is something that I want you to do because I want to teach you a lesson in it. And so here I am on my knees in the room upstairs, wedging in these hardwood floors. And here's kind of what the Lord has been saying to me about this. And it's related directly to the idea of the geese flying. Because when you are going to take off, when you're going to step into that new thing, when you're going to fly, it requires a process. And here's the process. There's 3 things I want to share with you guys, right? Number 1 is anytime you are going to restore something in your life, anytime you're going to rebuild, anytime you're going to reconstruct something, the first thing you have to do is actually deconstruct. Okay? You guys are in new development, right? So I know folks are coming in and putting new houses from the ground up. The reality is 15, 20 years from now, those houses are going to have to be updated in some capacity. You see, the same is true of our own lives. We've had our house, this is us, right? And we've got some old stale carpet in a portion of our room, which is maybe in our mind. We've got this old stale carpet, this excuse that's hanging in there that's keeping us from being who we were created to be. And we just overlook it because it's like, oh, that's just the stale carpet in the spare bedroom. I'm okay with that. No. For you to step into who you are, for you to be excellent, for you to fly, you have to deconstruct that old room in your house, your mental house, your spiritual house. You got to get in there and tear up the old carpet. So the first thing we did when we went into this room was tear the carpet up. And then there's tack strips on the floor that you have to peel up with a very, very meticulous. So I got a bandage on my knuckle here because I crushed my knuckle on the floor, on the subfloor, because I was popping up these nails and it rubbed it raw. It's painful. Deconstructing something in your life, demolitioning something in your life in order to make way for the renovation is painful. Most folks don't want to do it. They just leave the old stank carpet in there and wonder why they have dust mites. But I went in there and I popped up all these things and I let the deconstruction or the demolition process occur so that we could put in the new flooring. So for you guys, I would ask you and challenge us collectively to say, what parts of my life, what parts of my business mind, what parts of my front end presentation, what part of my client relationships, what part of my daily routine needs to be demolitioned so that it can make way for the new, better thing. You see, what you want to do, what I want to do is throw a layer of paint over that old wall. And then a layer of paint over that old wall. And there a layer of paint. And put carpet on top of carpet until we end up, we can't even walk in the room because it's got 15 layers of carpet on it. Instead of demoing out what's underneath and putting down a new foundation. So I would challenge you guys today, in order to fly, in order to step in, you've got to do the demo work. So the demo work is essential. That's hard work. I can't do it for you. I can't hold your hand. I can talk to you about it. We can help highlight some of those areas, but unless you're willing to do the demo work and get the old carpet out, you're not going to be able to have the new foundation to be able to stand on. So the second thing is as I was demoing that, it's tedious work. sticking a flathead screwdriver under each staple in the floor and popping it out. And when it doesn't pop out, you grab a pair of needle nose pliers and you got to pull it out, right? So tedious work. There's probably 100 staples in the floor. And then once you get it in, you got to line up the flooring and you got to start putting the floor together. And it's tongue and groove. So it's you piece it in and then you tap it in, right? And you get it to lock. And then you go to the next piece and you got to cut that piece. And I worked for probably 4 hours yesterday and I laid what looked like 6 feet of hardwood floor. I'm like, this is going to take me forever. And that's the truth, is because it's a process. Bringing something new to bear in your life, bringing something fresh, is going to take time. You see, we are in such a microwavable culture where we put a hot pocket in the microwave and we get it, we zap it. 2 minutes later, we're eating something. It doesn't matter that the hot pocket's not good for us. It doesn't matter that it's chock full of preservatives and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't matter that it had radiation. It matters that, I got it fast, right? This fast food culture, boom, through the drive-through. I don't have time to deconstruct my life. You don't understand. I don't have time. I got 3 kids. I got the full-time job. I got bills, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry I'm being a little bit harsh today. Everybody's got that. I've got that. I've got 5 kids. I know it's tough. I know it's hard. I know it takes intentional effort. But we have to slow down and do things right before we can do them well. So often we're rushing through our lives, not doing the demo work, not taking the time to do things right. We just get things done for the sake of getting them done and wonder why we don't do them well. And so you got to fit the tongue in the groove and go slow. One of the things I love, an analogy I love is, measure twice, cut once. I may cut once. Oh, crap, I messed up the board. Oh, I messed up that board. Oh, after the 4th time, I decide to measure. That's my life. That's who I am, right? And it's never healthy. Take the time, slow down, and I think you'll find that is actually incredibly healthy, and it's a better way to live your life. Because what happens is when you're living viscerally and you're living quickly and you're living rushed and you're living in fast food culture, somebody cuts you off in traffic. You idiot! And you give them the finger, whatever you do, Or somebody hurts your feelings, you go, you blow up on somebody, or you blow up on your kids, and you're just this reactive, kind of like shell of yourself, puppet, who's just responding to all this stuff around you because you haven't slowed down and gotten centered and focused. And so the challenge is to slow down and be focused, that if you hit your finger when you're going slow, that hurt. I'm going to pause. I'm not going to let it get into my heart. I'm going to go, okay, and you keep going. You keep going rather than throwing the hammer across the wall and, and tearing up the room. And the final piece of this is kind of tied to what I just said is you got to learn how to find your groove. The beautiful thing about these tongue and groove boards is if you don't get them in there just right, they're off. They're off center and they don't click in. But when you find the groove, it goes right in and it looks beautiful. And the hardwood floors actually look great. And I'm loving the process here because God's slowing me down. And he's reminding me that, demolition is required first. And then he's reminding me finally to find your groove. And so as I encourage you guys today, as I encourage us today, right, is we can be the geese dragging our feet, slowing up traffic, whatever. Or we can fly like we were created to. And I would challenge you and encourage you to fly. And that's going to take deconstructing some things, getting the old carpet out. And that's going to take you slowing down, right? And processing things and being able and capable of doing them right before you can do it well. And then the final piece is just find your groove, and once you get in your groove, man, you can just rock and roll. It's kind of like, I see it like when the birds are flying and they get on a wind and you can just see them just coast. If you've ever seen at the beach, I love watching the pelicans, man, because the pelicans will get going and they'll come and they'll just coast over the water. It's beautiful because they found that groove. And that's where I think we were created to function and thrive and finding that groove. And so that's my challenge to you guys today. And I hope that it all landed well, that you guys made the connections as needed. As always, you can reach out to me directly if you want to talk about any of this, matt@uprint.life or 910-619-4644. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Have a fabulous Tuesday, and y'all get busy with it. See ya.